So it's first thing on day 2 of the blasting day. There's a wee bit of a delay. We've got some rain happening at the moment, so they can't blast when it's raining. So we're just waiting for that to clear off, and then we can get started back into the tanks and then the deck and the roof. So we're currently waiting for the rain to subside. So it's pretty early in the morning. It's still just before 6, I think. And we're just out here. You can sort of see it's a bit of a grey old day out there. You can hear quite a lot of the rain going on. So we've gone through and taped up pretty much every bit of opening window or hatch or whatever it is in the boat. We're just waiting on the sandblasters to arrive, but they might be running a bit late because when it rains like this they can't blast, so they're in no rush to get down here basically when it's like this. Last little bits that we have to do is we just need to tape up the rear doors, so you can sort of see the 2 doors here we've got opened up, and just before we leave we'll lock those and seal all of the all of that cabin off. Yeah, the front's all ready to go. The water's disconnected, the power's still on, but that's only a 2-minute job to get rid of that and tape all of the sockets up. Yeah.
So just some of the behind the scenes that you don't really see. The dog was up with explosive diarrhea most of the night, so we didn't sleep very much. I busted my thumb, it sublocated, twisted right back, and I've pulled all the muscles and things around it, so I'm half a useful person at the moment. Yeah. So it's just like this stuff happened on these sort of big jobs.
Yeah.
And Dane's like worked, I don't know, he's on his 4th day straight with very little sleep and just having to keep going, and Ryan came and he did 2 days like full on. Ryan was really tired at the end of that.
Ryan was so stuffed at the end of it.
Yeah, well you were too, it was hard. Yeah. But it's all worth it. But
yeah. So it's cool, it's 5 days of pushing really hard and we'll be massively ahead at the end of it, so yeah. It's miserable doing it, but it's awesome at the end of it. Yeah.
So worth it. But yeah, it's just kind of it adds to the experience, and not such a great way sometimes. Yeah. But yeah, so we're just waiting for the rain to stop, and then we're going to go down to where the boat's normally sitting, and it's a mess. So we haven't been able to kind of clean that for a year. So we'll do that this morning. Then we're heading into town for some bacon and eggs for some breakfast.
It feels really funny walking around where the boat used to be parked. I had to go and find some parts, down where there's now a gap where Brupeg used to be sitting, and it was just so disorientating. I just couldn't get my bearings, like wandering around trying to find stuff, and it was like a foreign land. I've been so used to the boat sitting there for the last 18 months, and with it gone, I just wondering.
Your mind kind of adjusts, it knows where the things are in relationship to the hull.
Yeah, I was just thought of the cooling pipes, or it's behind the cofferdam, or whatever it is. Like
we'll do a bit of videoing of the space this morning, so you can sort of see how messy it is.
So we're going to go down there and tidy it all up. So
people who come beside us too, they're so great. They kind of go, oh, they could use this bit of wood, or they could use this drum, or so we've ended up with lots of stuff under the boat that's not ours too. So we're going to do a bit of a clear out.
Yeah.
We took some stuff to the dump yesterday, and we'll do a bit more of that today.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So if the rain stops, it's supposed to. It's forecast to stop soon. So we'll get into it with our gummies, because it's going to be pretty mucky down there.
And then we should schedule in some sleep.
I think sleep's a great idea.
So this is the morning that we're tidying up the chaos from where Brupeg normally sits. So this is what we're left with. So what we're going to do is go through and do a bit of a tidy up, throw out all of the junk, and try and capture as much of the good stuff as we can into a pile. And then we're going to go through and hopefully sweep some of this old sandblasting grit up, and sand and whatever, and then give it a good rake so it's nice and flat for when the boat comes back. It should make life significantly easier when we start working on it again. So first look at the roof. This is what we're sort of left with, just that go right down. You can see it's a really lovely, really coarse white metal finish. The whole roof is like that all the way around, except for a couple of little spots underneath our nav lights, but that's all good. Same deal at the back here. The roof's nicely done all the way along. So we're just going to go through so you can sort of see all of our random solar mounts and stuff that are all there. They've all been blasted as well. And then if I jump down, I'll spin around and show you forward. So I've just arrived at the boat, so I've got to undo all of the masking that we put on the air conditioning and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'll whip that off now and then we'll start smashing into some paint rolling. So on Brupeg we use a couple of different paints. On the deck we use a 2-pack for abrasion resistance, so that we're able to drag, you know, dinghies and kayaks and people and welders and whatever we need to over the deck without it causing drama every time we have to do that. 2-pack's really good for abrasion resistance, so that's why we use it for that. On the roof and on the top sides though, we use a single pack, and that's for a couple of reasons. So in the ice, this whole area, including our radar mast and everything around me, is going to basically freeze up. Salt spray and things like that, when you get, you know, decent amount of wind, 40 knots or so or more, salt spray starts to freeze. You know, when you're in the either the really southern or really northern latitudes. So we use a single pack because we can smack it with a hammer and it, you know, to get the ice off, and it doesn't essentially explode like a 2-pack does. A 2-pack doesn't have impact resistance, but it has a lot of abrasion resistance, whereas a single pack is really good for impact. So that's why we use a single pack up here. So one of the things I was a bit nervous about by using a single pack was how well it was going to hold onto the steel. However, the Sandblaster, when he was going over it today, said that the single pack that I did have on this, just as a protection to stop the rust and everything like that from running down over the side, said that it was a nightmare to take off for the blaster. So to me, that's awesome. That's like absolute, like, real praise for the paint. So yeah, I'm pretty chuffed about that. So I'm just going to use the same system and carry on with that. So it's been a really big day. You can sort of see I look exactly as I feel. I got the red marks from the gas mask and everything while we've been painting all day. But we did manage to get one coat on the rear roof and also on the wheelhouse. So Jess came up and gave me a hand on the wheelhouse roof. Yeah, we did manage to get all of that done. Bit of a bummer, we started painting and they burnt off a sugar field not far from us, so we started getting showered by burnt and charged sugar cane, so that was pretty disappointing. But yeah, we'll clean all of that off in the morning, and it comes off piece of cake. It doesn't have any weight to it, so it just sort of sits right on the top of the paint. But we will give that a real hard scrub and clean that off when we put the second coat on. So it's Tuesday now. We've managed to have the wheelhouse roof and the wheelhouse roof and the rear roof blasted. Both of those have got a single coat of single pack etch on. Tomorrow is Wednesday. They're going to be blasting the deck. So it's starting at the front of the boat, they work their way all to the back. They're going to be blasting all the bulwarks, so basically the walls that go all the way around the boat from the deck up. That's all getting blasted on the inside, and then we're 2-packing basically from the top of the bulwark down to the deck, and then across the deck and up the cabin about 100 mil, or roughly 4 inches. Yeah, and then so that's all happening tomorrow, and we'll be painting the 2-pack on tomorrow afternoon. And then finally on Thursday, they will just give the tanks the last little going over right before it leaves the bay, just to get rid of any sort of golden brown rust and that sort of stuff. Like if you leave it in the atmosphere for a wee bit, you get a little bit of browning. So they're going to clean that off, and then the boat's getting moved back out into our regular spot. Funny enough, I had a bloke turn up the other day who said he's been watching our show for a while, and he's bought a boat in our yard, and I actually saw his boat be pulled out of hard long-term storage and put onto the hard stand right next to where our boat's going to be. So on Thursday, we're going to be right beside him. So hopefully I'll get him on the show, and yeah, we'll have a bit of a chat. So Jess has come up and give us a hand. She's going through all of the welds and corners and edges and stuff that's really difficult to get in for me with the big roller. So she's got the 100mm fluffy roller that she's powering through. It holds a heap of paint, so it's really good for those sort of tricky bits. And you can see she's being relatively liberal with it, which is awesome. And then I've got the big foam roller, which is a 10mm nap foam roller. But yeah, so all of the edges and so on, like the tricky little bits, the welds and lumps and bumps and all that sort of stuff, Jess has already gone around and done all of that. and so you can see pretty much right the way around the wheelhouse the rim's all been done. We're now just doing all the flat areas. So the sandblasted the roof of the rim of the wheelhouse, and you can see a sugar infused rear roof. So it's a pretty light coat. It's actually as thick as we can get that paint on, but it's a relatively thin paint. So we're going to do a few coats of this. I'll probably actually put 3 coats on that rear roof just because I want heaps of protection for it. Yeah, so we'll press on. We'll get this wheelhouse roof finished. Managed to finish the roof pretty much right as nightfall is hitting, so sunset, and I'll show you this. If I spin right around through the mesh of the sandblasting bay, you can see a awesome sunset. So the boys are about to go in and carry on doing the blasting in the bay with the boat. We're about halfway through. They've got the roof and the wheelhouse roof been blasted, and we painted that last night. And then we had a lovely shower of sugar cane sprinkled down on top of us, so that was awesome. Then we also had the bow has been blasted now, and pretty much most of the side decks, including all the bulwarks up the side. So they're the little walls that go from the deck up, form part of the hull. So they've been done, and now the last little bits to be done is the what have we got? The rear deck and the engine bay vents. So we were working away on the boat, and one of our Patreons, Dominic, got in touch with us and said he's going to be in the area. So he came up and gave us a hand, and I have camera envy. You should see the size of the lens on his camera. So it's halfway through the blasting. You see the boat's all taped up. Big loud machine. So they've blasted the engine vents, the side deck, including all the bulwarks up the side here. So you can see all of that's been blasted back, and they've come up the cabin about 100 mil, about 4 inches. So when I do my 2-pack on the deck, I can bring that up and then put my side paint, the single pack side paint, down there, so we know we've got a really great bond all the way along the cabin. So right the way along, all the bulwarks up the side here, the stairs that we made, they've all been done, and I've asked for them to blast the handrails, the stainless handrails and everything. I don't want shiny handrails, I want grippy handrails. So that they've done that. Obviously a wee bit of rust in here, they dimpled that out, but that's all good. Plenty of steel left. So this is our new vent that I built that's been nicely dimpled up. So that's all stainless, but I'm just going to paint all of that. Sorry, that there's all stainless, so I'm just going to paint that. So I asked them to blast it to get the nice finish coming all the way along. You can see this is the little washboard that sits just behind the scupper here. So the scupper, basically the water from the deck on the front, the bow area, comes down, hits this washboard, and is pretty much forced or directed out the side of the boat where there's a big scupper. So right the way up the front, we've got lovely white metal all the way around, and including all of our I don't know what you actually call these, but the gear to tie off the boat when we get into port and things. So these are used to obviously wrap your big mooring lines and things around. So these are all stainless, but they were covered in paint, so I just asked the guys to blast them. I'm going to leave them stainless. So this is our forward deck. You can see the reinforcing plate there with for the anchor, the anchor winch. We've got what was the bow roller that I was going to leave, but I'm since going to change that. I'm going to swap that out actually and build a completely different style. Oh, that's right, I've got a blooming hole that I need to fix. You can see the darn thing there. So a bit of plate has rusted out a bit, so I'm going to cut a bit of that out and put a new plate in. And you see there's a weld line there. They obviously had a different hatch layout at some point on the front here. They've gone through and blasted all the way around the cabin. There's about 100 mil all the way around, and then same deal all the way down here. They've gone through. They've done a great job. So they've got the deck's been blasted. They got the 100 mil up the side here. The bulwarks are done. The stainless capping on the top there. What else we got? So right the way down, a bit of dust and so on the rear roof, but that's all painted. We did that last night, so it came up alright. So I'll work my way through. You can see all the way down, lovely white metal steel finish. And then this is what it used to be like. So you can sort of see this has not been blasted, so you can see just the rubbish sort of rust, you know, bubbles up and junk. So to give you an idea, a couple of holes. So it's things like this. I didn't know that there was a hole here until we blast it. So we often find a few little things like this when we do our sandblasting. So I'll go through and I'll probably cut that out and put a plate in, because it's probably, you know, what do you call it, been eaten away on the inside. So also things like this. See, you can see here, basically dimples that go down quite deep, sort of electrolysis and or just general, you know, rust from not having it well painted enough. So I'll go through some of these. I'll probably pad weld because they're just little spots. Things like this, I may cut it out and put a bigger piece in. Can't see too many other bits. They need to blast that. Yeah, so getting there, halfway through the blasting. So this back end hasn't been blasted yet. So you can sort of see the paint all the way around, that's yet to come off. But some really good progress happening. So we've been given the boat back for the day. You can sort of see behind me all of the deck here now is basically beautiful white metal, and they've blown it off with an air compressor, so it's about 98% dust free. So we're just going to go through and do the last little bits now and clear that away. One of our Patreons, Dom, see him in the background, he's coming up and he's giving us a hand as well. So the job for now is to go around and mask up all of the stainless and all of the areas that we don't want painted, which is pretty much just stainless. And then we're going to go through and throw the 2-pack on. So the paint we're using is this stuff here. The paint we're using is a 2-pack epoxy. It's called Jodacoat, and it's Jodacoat 605. So it's specifically made to basically go over pretty much any type of steel that's going to be on this boat. So that's all of your stainlesses, any sort of bronze and mild steel. So the task at the moment is to go around all of the stainless gear. So this is basically a stainless tie down point for the boat. We go around and throw just a ring of tape around it so we get a nice clean line at the bottom here. We paint essentially right up in and into here. We'll go over the tape obviously, and then we're nice and careful behind, and then we rip the tape off and we're left with a beautiful, lovely, crisp line. You could be a bit pedantic and cover the whole thing in plastic if you want and go berserk and spray. We're rolling, so we're able to be a little bit more careful. But we just simply don't have the time. We've got 2 hours to paint the entire boat, so we don't have the time to go around and mask up this sort of thing. So we're just going to basically be careful when we're painting behind it, but we can manage that because we're using 100mm rollers, so relatively small. So same deal, you can sort of see this is a fuel tank filler, tie down point filler, and then we've got a vent over here, exactly the same deal. So we just have to be nice and careful when we go behind, and we'll be fine. Come on, mix up. So this is brand new paint apparently, like ordered a few days ago, so some pretty unbelievably thick. We're being pretty liberal with our paint.
Good. Wow, looks amazing. Quite nice, the bright colour against the contrasting dark.
Yeah, makes painting easy. You know exactly where you've been.
Yeah, true. I was thinking, if we run out of time, if you've got the front done, that's not undercover, that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, the back should be okay overnight, eh?
Yeah, I think we'll get most of it done.
Yeah.
God, it's so much faster having 2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll have a good shot at getting it done.
Good. Wonderful. I'll leave you to it.
So we're back doing the night shift. You can sort of see out there it's pitch black. We are working under work lights. So behind me you can sort of see the deck, the rear deck area is still to be painted. We've just had one of our Patreons, Dom, turn up, and he's been with us for the day, and it's been awesome. The help that he's given us has just been absolutely fantastic. So I can't show you because it's pitch black, but we've got all of the bow done, and we're working our way down either side of the boat. So we're about halfway down either side. So yeah, it's just me. He's had to shoot off for the day, so it's about, I think it's 6 PM now. So hoping to have this painted up probably within maybe by 8 PM, something like that. So yeah, we're progressing along. The paint that we're using is a 2-pack epoxy on the deck. It's a beautiful paint, absolutely beautiful paint. Really, really happy with it. But yeah, we're really coming along with it now. So this hopefully is the last time we're going to have to hide out in the car for a while the boat's in the blast bay. We have cleaned up all of the ground that the trawler sits on normally, so it's all nice and clean now. It's been a bit of a bomb site for the last year, and been getting progressively worse as we get more and more tools and parts and so on. So that's nice and clean, ready to go. The boat will be back in 2 or 3 hours time. I think they're moving it back out. So the blasting should be finished soon, maybe in an hour or so. And then they'll vacuum it all up and give it a good clean up, and then yeah, the boat will be lifted out of the bay and back into its normal spot, and then we can start essentially unwrapping it. So taking all the masking off everywhere that we've worked on, getting the fuel tanks ready to start coating, and then also painting up the engine vents, which were one of the last things to be blasted. So there's going to be a bit of a painting marathon happening this weekend, but yeah, just we're both pretty stuffed, pretty exhausted. It's been 14 to 16 hour days for the last, I don't know, 9 days or something in a row, so we're pretty knackered. But I was hoping to have a bit of a sleep for the whole of this weekend, but I don't think that'll happen. I think we're going to be back in fuel tanks and painting and so on, so we'll press on and get the work done. the first look at Brupeg, as we come out of the bay, you can see there's sandblasting garnet all over the boat. But we did manage to get the 2-pack primer on. We've still got all the big plastic tarps all over the boat. They're all taped down so that when they blasted these engine vents here, yeah, obviously ricochets all around and stuff. We didn't want to damage anything. So you can see the outside of that's been nicely blasted, as well as the rim that goes all the way around the boat. That's been blasted too. So we work our way forward. See it's pretty grubby, sand everywhere, but still she's blasted it and she's painted. So this is up on our bow here. So you can see our stainless tie down points. We haven't finished, obviously. We've got one coat of paint on this so far, so we need to throw a heap more on it. I got them to blast the alloy hatch cover, so that goes down into our anchor room. And then up on top here, you see there's just like layers and layers and layers of sand. So we've got a heck of a cleaning up job to do. The wheelhouse roof, again covered in sand, but all painted. So we've got one layer, it's a thin layer albeit, but we've got one layer of primer on that. Same deal across the back end of the boat here, so all of the rear roof and everything has been blasted, and that has one layer. And so we've got a window over here, we've got a window on that corner there of the wheelhouse, we've got an extractor fan here, and then we've got an air conditioner, and then a little air conditioner over there. So that whole lot has to be basically unwrapped. But there's a bit of chaos going on with all of the sand and everything, so we really got to get it off, because you can sort of see we're quite close to our new neighbour. And the wind's basically taking all of the sand over onto his boat, so I'd like to keep, you know, jovial relationships and not have to sandblast that boat with our sand.
Hey, I heard you want to leave this place where we grew up. This old town, just put it all behind. Remember you and I would always find somewhere to hide when we were